I think I muted myself, right?
Yes, you did, but I saw it. I saw it.
I didn't want everyone's hair to blow back. Um, or as Sarge would say, Tkiya Gdola. Okay, happy Monday, everybody. And we're going to pick up where we left off. Chapter 3, Mishnah 4. So moving through Pirkei Avot here, I would say the theme to this chapter seems to be learning Torah. Shocker. Whereas maybe chapter 2 was about Maseh, or the sort of the balance of tefillah and avodah. Of course, when the Mishnah talks about avodah, they mean service of Hashem, but you still felt that the Tanaim, the sages that we are learning from, who are called Tanaim, they understand that people have to go into the real world and that you're going to be dealing with authorities, if it's the government or your employers and your neighbors and things like that. And so they seem to have given us advice on perhaps to be wary of certain things or to be proactive in certain things. And it seems as we start chapter 3, it seems like we're really focusing now on learning Torah and chas v'shalom, wasting away the day or the night or any minute of our lives when we shouldn't be learning, right? As we saw last week, short is the day, and there's a lot of Torah to learn. Of course, we are only commanded to do it. We are not commanded to finish it, because of course there's no end, in Sof. So we come to Mishnah 4. Rabbi Chanina ben Chachinai Omer, Haneor balayla והמהלך בדרך יחידי והמפנה ליבו לבטלה, הרי זה מתחייב בנפשו. Oi, I am guilty of this because I often wake up in the night. Rabbi Chananya ben Chakinai said, one who wakes up at night or walks on the way alone and turns his heart to idle matters is chayav benafsho. He's mortally guilty. Right? So I would, it's not so bad to wake up or to walk by yourself, but hamefane libo levatala, if your heart turns to bittul Torah, bittul zman, wasting Torah, wasting the time, you're chayav benafsho, which is a pretty strict sentence, right? Your soul is chayav, your soul is guilty. Of course, they also might be speaking metaphorically. Your soul is not reaping the reward of learning Torah. Your soul is now suffering from the bittul, from the wasting. Anyone read anything else into this? Pretty straightforward. Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana Omer, Kol hamekabel alav ol Torah mavirin mimenu ol malchut ve'ol derech eretz. Whoever accepts the ol Torah, the yoke of Torah, mavirin mimenu ol, they take off, they remove from themselves the ol malchut, the yoke of the kingdom, and ol derech eretz, and the yoke of the land. So I would take this to mean when you accept the Torah, it's almost as if you answer to a higher power. You're not really a subject of the malchut and the government or the king, because we're subjects of melech melchei melechim, the king of kings. So, right, Mordechai didn't bow to Haman, right? So, but on the flip side, chol porek mimenu ol Torah, whoever breaks that yoke of Torah, notnin alav ol malchut ve'ol derech eretz. You're now gonna carry the weight of the yoke of malchut and the yoke of derech eretz, the yoke of the ruling authority, I would say, and O Derech Eretz, the all of just the common land, your common surroundings. Comments?
Yes.
No need to raise hands here. We're like 5 people. You can just call out.
Oh, okay, perfect. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay.
Pretend I'm back in school. It's been so long since I've been in school. My God. Can I go to the bathroom? Anyway, it says here when a man rejects the yoke of Torah. But what happens if a man is not capable? What happens if he is not able mentally or willingly to study Torah? Then they give him an out. Then he has to work for the government. Okay, work for the government means like in the army or the civil service, or does derech eretz. In other words, he does daily chores. I don't know, cleans the streets, whatever. But if you're studying Torah, if you have the capacity and you're studying Torah, you don't have to do anything else, according to, Rabbi Nechinya ben
Hakana, right.
So is this where I go when I see some of the ultra-religious Jews who say, I'm studying Torah all the time, I don't have to do anything else? But this is not the way it is in the real world, but I don't think they're living in a real world. Any other comments?
I think we saw this Mishnah. Al shosha dvarim ha'olam omed, al haTorah, al ha'avodah, ve'al gmilut chasadim. So, the world is sustained by 3 things, or at least 3 things. Torah, avodah, service, but service of Hashem, and gmilut chasadim, acts of kindness. So people dedicate their lives to studying Torah as a way to support the world. There's kollels throughout the world where, people get paid by the community to sit and learn, right? Like any time that you give money to a yeshiva or to a kollel or to a real religious, educational institution, that's what you're supporting. You're supporting the learning of Torah because we feel that it's essential for the world to sustain itself with the study of Torah. Not solely the study of Torah, because you also have avodah, but people dedicate their lives to studying Torah.
So there's 4 different opinions from 4 different rabbis, and each of them is right, as a typical of a rabbi. Okay, there's one rabbi. Okay, so we know you just said it. One rabbi said, okay, it's our destiny to do it. We have to start it, and if we do it, we don't have to do anything else. But we're supposed to do other things to help other people. Okay, and I think for us, learning, I think it's very important to understand, how some of the other Jews, live their lives so that they're very comfortable doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing because I don't think I could fit into that milieu, even though I have a black hat. Just kidding. But I just don't feel, that I want to do it. But now I have an out. This rabbi is telling me that if you don't do this exclusively, then you can do other stuff and still be a good Jew.
Yeah.
So we do need these people in the Jewish religion to carry on the study of what they're doing that allows us to do other stuff to make the world a better place. That's how I see it.
For sure.
So I think that the Chabad is there for something. And I think that they absolutely do something very, very good. I mean, there's a niche for them in the world, and I have no problem with them doing it. But I don't want to be part of their world. That's why I joined conservative Judaism.
Right.
I want to be a part of a world where I want to do some studying and I want to do some other things.
Yeah. But you see the value in having that world or that
it's essential.
That way of life part of our world.
Correct. And there is a niche for them, and I think that's fabulous. It's when they don't respect what we do, okay, and we find that they're doing something completely contrary to what is normal, whatever normal is, okay, that there's a conflict. And that's the problem. There's no mutual respect. They don't respect us at all because we're not Jewish enough, quote unquote. And that I have a problem with. But we move on.
So
now
maybe we have to memorize this verse and use it.
Oh, but they're going to quote you 17 other verses that counter this because we don't believe in that, Rabbi, because whatever. Okay, his wife was an influence on him, and that's why he's doing this. Like you oriented this at the Seder table.
That was from chapter 1 that we learned. Don't talk to your wife too much. It leads to ... That was a horrible Mishnah.
That's right. So this whole thing is learning, okay, about our Jewish world and how to make us better people, better Jews and better people. Okay, so I don't think I can take this literally. It has to be like a general rules of how to behave. If you don't do this, you can do this and still be good. Okay. Well, my saying of the week: if you're not good, at least enjoy it.
Right.
Well, that's right. All right. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm on mute.
But I would say anyone who is incapable of studying Torah, and I believe that the Mishnah would say this as well, isn't chayav. It's, someone who is not what's called a ben da'at, a person with cognitive ability to study, or if someone is sick, God forbid, or the millions of reasons why you can't learn or read or memorize or do whatever, you're not chayav to learn Torah. Rabbi Chalafta, never heard of this guy, so I clearly don't recall this Mishnah. It's quite the name, really rolls off the tongue. Rabbi Chalafta ben Dosa, ish kvar Hananya omer, 10 שיושבים ועוסקים בתורה, שכינה שרויה ביניהם, because it says in Tehillim, Elohim nitzav b'adat el. So 10 people that sit together and are osek b'Torah, are busy with Torah, right? The shechina shroya b'neihem, the presence of God is with them. As it says in Tehillim, Elohim nitzav b'adat el, that God dwells in the adat el, in the congregation of God. Uminayin afilu chamishan. Where do we see that the same is true even if we have 5 people? Which we do this morning. Look at that. Shene'emar, as it says from Amos, v'agudato al eretz yesada. The band of his he has established on earth. So how do we know that that's 5? Because I guess they're saying an Eidah is 10. How do we know that an Agudah is 5? I'm trying to recall. I guess somewhere in Tanakh we learned Agudah is 5. Uminayin afilu shlosha. Where do we know that even 3? Shenemar, it says in Tehillim, Bekerev Elohim mishpot, right? Shofet. Judgment comes in 3. Like Bet Din is 3. And how do we know even 2? Uminayin afilu shnayim, because it says in Malachi, Az nidberu yirei Hashem ish el reyehu, vayakshev Hashem vayishma. And thus we're speaking people that had yiras Hashem, people that had fear of God or awe of God, one to his friend, right? Two people. And Hashem heard. Hashem listened and he heard. And how do we know even 1 person? Shenemar, it says in Shmot, Bechol hamakom asher azkir et shemi, avo elecha uverachticha. Any place that you recall my name, I will come to you and bless you.
Okay, so I have a commentary about 5.
Yeah.
Okay, now we approach the number 5. This digit reminds us of the 5 fingers of each hand and the foot and of the 5 books of Torah. However, the true significance of the number 5 is derived from the scriptures. Quote, he founded his group upon the earth, which was in the Mishnah. The first component of this group consists of 4 elements: fire, air, water, and earth. The second component is that element that is inactive, such as stone. Following this is the growing elements, such as vegetation. The fourth is comprised of living things, such as the animal kingdom. The last one is man, who is the only creature that speaks. This is the group that God founded upon the earth, and it is composed of 5 parts, hence 5.
Okay.
So the question is, do they say 5 and then it's like an accountant, he goes back, okay, and he has to justify the 5, okay? Or did they find the 5 and then he said, oh, look, it totals 5? Who knows?
I'd say both. Both are true.
Yes. Spoken like a true rabbi.
Well, I mean, it's either you have the theory and then you look for the facts to sustain the theory, or you come to the realization and then, do you look at the equation backwards or forwards?
Yes.
The answer is both. And the answer is both. Okay. I like this Mishnah a lot. I would say at least 10. Let's do a couple more. Rabbi Elazar Ish Bar Tota. I don't know where Bar Tota is, but Rabbi Elazar was from there. Ten lo mishelo, she'ata v'shelcha shelo. Give to him that which is his, for you, and that which is yours is his. Right? So, ten lo mishelo, she'ata v'shelcha shelo. This is like an Abbott and Costello routine here, right? This is, give him mishelo, from his. She'ata v'shelcha shelo, because you and yours, shelo, is his. Perhaps we will talk about that, because I'm confused. V'chein b'David hu omer. And it says by David, it says in Divrei Yamim, Ki mimcha hakol umiyadcha natanu lach. For everything, everything comes from you, and from your own hand, natanu lach, we have given to you. Rabbi Shimon says, Hamehalech. Okay, let's just pause here for 1 second. Anyone want to explain this one?
Does this have anything to do with giving tithes? It sounds to me that
Could be.
whatever you have has come to you from God, and that you're supposed to give back.
So to me, give back is charity.
So you think the law, 10 law, the law that we're talking about here is God?
Yeah. Well, in the translation, it shows him with a capital A.
Oh,
so
true.
It sounds to me that's what it is.
So whatever we have has come from God. And whatever we give as a gift is a gift that we received. So
Right.
It's give and take. True love. You give to me.
Right,
I
the
give
Mishnah
to
is
you.
saying everything is his, so even ata and shalcha is shalom. So you have to give him what's his. Because nothing's yours. Right? So it's not even that you're giving him what's yours. You're giving him what's his. Interesting. The first time I read this, I was thinking 10 law is like your friend or someone in need or not Hashem.
Okay. Makes sense.
Rabbi Shimon says, "Hamehalech bederech v'shoneh umafsik mimishnato ve'omer mana ilan zeh mana נאה ניר זה, מלא עליו הכתוב כאילו מתחייב בנפשו. So if someone is walking and studying on the derech, on the way, ומפסיק ממשנתו ואומר, but he pauses from his studies and says, how beautiful is this Ilan? Or how nice is this field? Maleh alav hakatuv keilu mitchayev benafsho. He is, again, this language of chayav benafsho. He is mortally guilty.
Why?
Tying into the previous Mishnah.
Yeah, tying into the previous Mishnah, but I think it's very easy to disagree with this Mishnah, because what if that thought? I guess that the Mishnah is saying you shouldn't even pause for a second to even notice the trees in the field. You should be so immersed, right? But I think that we could all sort of understand that if those thoughts lead you to sort of think about Hashem and how beautiful the world is and how beautiful creation is, but I think the Mishnah's point is that you're so elevated and you're so deep in your studies that even to come down a little bit to see the trees in the fields, even if it brings you back up to think about Hashem, you're still descending a bit,
I think it has to do with more being distracted, or it says to interrupt your study. So it seems to me that the point is that if you're studying Torah, that's what you should be focusing on, and not stop to look at other things or to distract yourself.
Right.
Not that it's wrong to say how good is this tree and how wonderful this earth is that God gave us, but that if you're studying Torah, that's what you should be focused on.
Good point.
Yep. One more. Rabbi Dostai ברבי ינאי משום רבי מאיר אומר. So Rabbi Dostai ben Rabbi Yanai said in the name of Rabbi Meir, Kol hashocheach davar echad mishnato, ma'aleh alav hakatuv ki'ilu mitchayev benafsho. Anyone who forgets davar echad, one thing from his learning, ma'aleh alav hakatuv, he's again mitchayev benafsho. His nefesh is chayav, his soul is guilty. Shene'emar, because it says in Dvarim, rak hishamer lecha ushemor nafshecha me'od pen tishkach et hadvarim asher ra'u einecha. Hishamer lecha, guard yourself and guard your soul. Me'od pen tishkach et hadvarim, do not forget the things you saw with your own eyes. Right? So just to put that into context, Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to the Jewish people. Don't ever forget what you saw with your own eyes. B'derech b'tzeitchem mimitzrayim, when you left Egypt. Yachol afilu tokfa alav mishnato. Even if it was too hard for him. Yachol afilu tokfa alav mishnato. Even when the learning was too hard, Talmud lomar, we learn. Ufen yasuru milvavcha kol yemei chayecha. You gotta pen yasuru milvavcha. Don't take it away from your heart your entire life. If it's too hard, you keep on with it your entire life. Ha eino mitchayev benafsho ad sheyeshev visirem milibo. He's not guilty until it is yasuru milvavcha, until it is separated from your heart, until it is gone from your heart. You're not, so you can't, again, we're not obligated to finish, right? We're only obligated to do. So no matter how hard it is, kol yemei chayecha, right? That's Torah. Torah is Ein Sof, never ending. We're always going to be struggling with it. We're always going to be trying to make it relevant to our lives and our time and our station. And that's the challenge, is to make Torah relevant, to make this Mishnah, which is 2,000 years old, relevant to today, is not an easy task. This is something that we have to struggle with our whole lives. So the struggle continues into the week. Comments?
It's a constant struggle. There's no question. Yeah. And especially as you get older, you don't remember as you used to. So I don't agree with this.
With what exactly?
With what he's saying. Okay, a man walking along the way. I don't agree. A person cannot concentrate all the time without diverting from time to time. It's impossible. And remember everything. Okay, and maybe when I was younger, I was able to concentrate for longer periods of time and retain, but not now.
Right. I'll tell you, I knew one person. I mean, you see people, like if you go to Mea Sharim, certainly, Hasidim walk around and they're always mumbling, right? They're always reciting a Mishnah or Tehillim or something. It's like they don't waste a second. I knew one rabbi who, when I was in yeshiva in Israel, he would this guy was, and I don't understand how he did it. He would sit with his tefillin all day in the base medrash. This guy would learn. Even when he went to lunch, he would take the tefillin off. He was literally engaged in Torah all day. At any waking second, this guy had a young guy. I was 18. He was probably like 25. And I had never seen anything like it. And and then I found out the next year his wife left him because I'm sure he has no money. Like, I'm sure he was destitute. Like, it's how do you do that? But this is really what the Mishnah is saying. Pen yasuchu milvavcha. I think that they literally mean for a second, that they said, like, you should not break don't mafsik lilmod ulalamed even for 1 second. So I don't understand that.
You can't separate yourself from the community. That's what he's doing.
Right. So the way that
a little bit later on, not to separate yourself from the community.
Right.
Okay, and this is what he's saying to do.
So
and even if 1 second you think about not going back to the community or going back to the land, okay, is wrong.
Right.
I don't agree. But we're allowed not to agree, right?
Well, for sure, we're for sure allowed not. I mean, these rabbis did not agree with each other. In fact, we should evolve from Mishnah to the Gemara when, like, literally fights break out and they start insulting each other. It's like hilarious. But the way that I interpret this, or that it could be interpreted, is that even in your quote unquote mundane life, when you go for groceries and when you go to the pharmacy and when you do all the things that we have to do, pick up and drop offs for me, it's to find the holiness within that too, and it's not, and that's bringing Torah into your whole life. It's not like Torah is only when I learn from the book and then, it's not, Torah Chaim, right? It's really, it's about bringing everything full circle. And it's when I'm in a meeting and the last place I want to be is this meeting about whatever. You got to find the holiness there too. And when someone's yelling at me about this, I got to find the whole, and that's the challenge. That's the real, and that's the kol yemei chayecha. Also, that's your challenge for your life, is to bring Torah into every facet.
Not easy.
No,
not easy.
It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
Yom Tov, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Wonderful day too. Keep on
Bye,
eating
guys.
Hamantaschen.